Have you made a lot of money out of your music?
Money. I mean, how much is a lot of money to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have you made...
He sang about one love, but his own love life was anything but simple. Bob Marley, the man who carried reggae from the streets of Kingston to the biggest stages in the world, left behind not only music that still moves hearts, but also a sprawling, complicated family. 13 children, 8 mothers, a legacy both uniting and dividing, inspiring and challenging. Some of his children became Grammy-winning musicians, others built businesses, worked in philanthropy, or chose to live quietly far from the spotlight. They grew up in the shadow of a legend who died far too young, navigating fame they never asked for and a name the whole world knew. This is the story of Bob Marley's children, from Trenchtown roots and childhood trauma to stadium tours, global brands, personal tragedies, and unexpected triumphs. Bob Marley's story began in the rural parish of St. Ann, Jamaica, on February 6, 1945. His mother, Cedella Booker, was just 17 when she met Captain Norval Sinclair Marley, a 50-year-old white Jamaican colonial supervisor. It was a romance that crossed race, age, and class lines, and one that Norval's family never truly accepted. When Cedella became pregnant, Norval promised marriage, even setting a date. But he was absent during her pregnancy, and when Bob was born in the early hours of a Wednesday morning, his father wasn't there. Norval returned briefly, named the child Nesta Robert Marley, and then disappeared again, the first of many absences that would mark their relationship. Visits became fewer until they stopped altogether. By the time Norval died in 1955, Cedella was raising her son alone. That same year, Cedella and young Bob left the countryside for Kingston, settling in Trenchtown, a crowded, rough neighborhood where reggae's heartbeat would begin to form. Life there was hard, but it's where Bob met lifelong friends, Bunny Wailer and Peter Tosh, forming the bonds that would one day become the Wailers. Cedella's life moved forward too. She had a daughter, Claudette Pearl, with Thaddeus Livingston, Bunny Wailer's father, and later married American civil servant Edward Booker. She gave birth to 2 more sons, Richard and Anthony, and lived for a time in Delaware. Tragedy struck in 1990 when Anthony was killed in a shootout with Miami police, a violent reminder of the struggles the Marley family would face beyond the music. For Bob, those Trenchtown streets were both school and stage, a place where music was escape and hardship was inspiration. But as his career began to rise, so too did the complexity of his personal life. And if you are into classic Hollywood icons, amazing stories, and newly discovered insights, then hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 10,000 subscribers, and your support will mean a lot to our channel. By the early 1960s, Bob Marley's voice was starting to carry beyond Trenchtown. With Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer, he formed the Wailers in 1963, blending ska, rocksteady, and what would become reggae into a sound that spoke for Jamaica's poor and hopeful. In 1966, Bob married a young singer named Alpha Rita Anderson, Rita, who was already fronting her own trio, the Solettes. Rita came into the marriage with a 2-year-old daughter, Sharon. Bob legally adopted her, giving her his name and raising her as his own. That same year, Bob briefly left Jamaica to live in Delaware with his mother, working factory jobs to support himself. But the pull of music and home brought him back. The late 60s and early 70s saw the Wailers climb from local success to international recognition. Songs like Stir It Up, No Woman, No Cry, and Get Up, Stand Up carried not just a beat, but a message. Bob's personal life was as busy as his musical one. While he and Rita built a home and a shared life, Bob fathered children with other women, relationships that were complicated but, in Marley's world, accepted. In total, Bob would have 13 children with 8 women, some raised in his household, others living abroad. Fame didn't insulate the family from danger. On December 3, 1976, just 2 days before Bob was set to play the Smile Jamaica concert, gunmen stormed his home. Bob was shot in the arm, Rita was hit in the head, and manager Don Taylor was seriously wounded. The attack shook the family deeply. Sharon, who was only 12 at the time, later recalled that night as the first time she ever felt fear. The flashing blue police lights forever etched into her memory. Even in the aftermath, Bob took the stage at the concert, his bandaged arm a defiant symbol of resilience. But for his children, it was a moment that marked the start of living in the shadow not just of a famous father, but a political and cultural figure whose life could be in danger. As Bob's music reached the far corners of the world, his children's lives began to unfold in ways just as varied as the rhythms in his songs. Imani Marley. Bob's first known child, Imani Carol, was born on May 22, 1963, to Cheryl Murray, 2 years before Bob married Rita. Little is known about Imani's early life, and she does not appear on Bob's official family website. She has lived quietly, keeping her life in Atlanta low-key, yet she remains connected to her father's circle. When Bunny Wailer passed away in 2021, she posted a heartfelt tribute, calling him "My Uncle Livy." Sharon Marley. Born November 23, 1964, Sharon was Rita's daughter from a previous relationship. When Bob married Rita in 1966, he adopted Sharon as his own. She grew up in Trenchtown, unaware in her earliest years that her father was famous. That innocence shattered in 1976, when armed men attacked their home. Sharon would later recall to Erie FM that the flashing police lights at the gate that night would be forever printed on my soul. Sharon considered careers as an actress and pediatrician before following in her father's footsteps as a musician. Alongside Ziggy, Stephen, and Cedella, she performed in Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers, whose albums like Conscious Party went platinum. Today, Sharon's life balances music and philanthropy. She's curator of the Bob Marley Museum, works with the Rita Marley Foundation, serves as A&R for Ghetto Youths United, and runs the Total Care Learning Center in Kingston. Cedella Marley, born August 23, 1967, Cedella is Bob and Rita's first biological child together. From a young age, she felt a deep responsibility for her father's legacy. At 10, Bob told her he wanted her to take over the family business, a comment she didn't fully understand at the time. She would later learn that Bob was not just a musician, but a savvy entrepreneur who started his own record label and merchandising before it was common for artists. Cedella performed with the Melody Makers before branching into business, becoming CEO of Tuff Gong International and director of the Bob Marley Foundation. She's also a fashion designer, author of children's books, and producer of a stage musical inspired by her father's music. Cedella has even served as ambassador for Jamaica's national women's football team, merging her cultural influence with sports and youth empowerment. David Ziggy Marley. Born October 17, 1968, Ziggy is Bob and Rita's eldest son and perhaps the most internationally recognized of the Marley children. Though his father was famous, Ziggy recalls a childhood much like other Trenchtown kids, rough, not pampered. Bob wrote, "Children playing in the streets for Ziggy and his siblings to perform, marking the start of the Melody Makers." After his father's death, Ziggy led the group to multiple Grammy Awards, later launching a successful solo career with albums like Love Is My Religion and Fly Rasta. He's also the founder of the URGE Foundation, helping children in Jamaica and beyond. Married to Orly Marley, Ziggy is a father of 7, carrying on both his father's music and his role as a family man. Stephen Marley. Born April 20th, 1972, Stephen, Bob and Rita's second son, grew up immersed in the family's music. At just 6 years old, he was performing with his father, and one night, he and Ziggy secretly recorded themselves singing Bob's songs in the studio only to find Bob had been listening the whole time. Stephen played a key role in the Melody Maker's sound before launching his solo career. As a producer, Stephen has worked with artists like Lauryn Hill, Damian Marley, and more, winning 8 Grammy Awards. His 2023 album Old Soul features collaborations with Eric Clapton, Jack Johnson, and Ziggy. Stephen also co-runs the Ghetto Youths Foundation with his brothers, blending music with social impact. Robbie Marley, born in 1972 to Pat Williams, Robbie grew up within the Marley household alongside his half-siblings. Unlike many of them, Robbie chose not to pursue a music career. Instead, he has lived a largely private life, describing himself on Instagram as a graphic artist, poet, and motorcycle enthusiast. He did, however, appear in the 2012 documentary Marley and in the Marley Africa Road Trip docuseries with his brothers Ziggy and Rohan. Robbie has said that one of the most important lessons from his father was that brothers shouldn't fight. Brothers should love one another. Rohan Marley, born May 19, 1972, just months apart from Robbie, Rohan is the son of Bob and Janet Hunt. Raised partly by his grandmother due to school troubles, Rohan learned self-reliance early, even collecting bottles or hunting birds for food. He toured with the Melody Makers as their bodyguard before playing football for the University of Miami. After sports, Rohan turned to entrepreneurship, founding Marley Coffee, a sustainable organic coffee company, as well as the lifestyle and cannabis brand Lion Order. His personal life has also drawn attention. He married his college sweetheart, Geraldine Coley, and had 2 children before their divorce, and later had 5 children with singer Lauryn Hill, making Bob Marley a great-grandfather. Stephanie Marley, born August 17, 1974. Stephanie is Rita's daughter from a previous relationship, but was adopted by Bob. She grew up in the Marley household, but remained more private than many of her siblings. While she's been involved with the Rita Marley Foundation and once founded a talent agency for Jamaican models, she tends to stay out of the spotlight. Sharon Marley, born in 1973 in London to Janet Bowen, affectionately called Janet from England by Bob, Sharon was raised in Jamaica with her siblings and considers Rita her mother. A fashion and interior designer, Sharon has said she aims to be recognized as her own person, while still honoring her father's legacy. She often collaborates with family on creative projects, but emphasizes individuality. Julian Marley, born June 4, 1975, in London to Lucy Pounder, Julian spent much of his childhood in the UK before moving to Jamaica at 17. Surrounded by music from an early age, he went on to become a Grammy-winning reggae artist, blending roots influences with his own style. Tragedy struck in 2019 when his 11-year-old daughter Kaveri passed away from cancer. Julian continues to release music and is active in charitable causes supporting youth and education. Imani Marley, born February 26, 1976, to Jamaican table tennis champion Anita Belnavis, Imani spent part of his childhood in Jamaica and later in Liberty City, Miami, where he witnessed gang violence. Initially pursuing sports, he turned to music, releasing reggae and hip-hop albums that earned Grammy nominations. He's also acted in films and founded the charity Love Overall to help children in poverty. Damian Jr. Gong, Marley, born July 21, 1978, to former Miss World Cindy Breakspear, Damian was only 2 when his father died. He grew up in Kingston's 56 Hope Road home, surrounded by musicians. Damian made history at the 2006 Grammys, becoming the first reggae artist to win 2 Grammys in the same night for Welcome to Jamrock. Known for fusing reggae, hip-hop, and dancehall, Damian has 2 children and continues to collaborate with artists across genres. Makeda Marley, the youngest of Bob's children, Makeda was born May 30, 1981, to Yvette Crichton, less than 3 weeks after Bob's death. Her early life was complicated, but she was eventually welcomed into the family. In 2008, she was arrested for growing marijuana and sentenced to probation. Today, she's a DJ and motivational speaker, using her music and voice to address social justice issues. Her 2023 single, Freedom Is Not Free, even samples a call she made from jail, referencing her father as a freedom fighter. Bob Marley's passing on May 11, 1981, at just 36 years old, left a void not only in music, but in the hearts of millions. For his children, it meant growing up without the guiding presence of the man whose name the world knew and whose music had already become immortal. Some were only toddlers when he died, like Damian and Makeda. Others, like Ziggy, Cedella, and Stephen, were old enough to remember the rehearsals, the tours, and the nights spent watching their father bring an entire stadium to its feet. That shared grief and pride became a bond, one that would shape the Marley name for decades to come. In the years following Bob's death, Rita Marley took on the role of family anchor, ensuring that his music, message, and business ventures continued. She ran Tough Gong International, safeguarded the rights to his likeness, and encouraged the older children to step into music and leadership roles. For the eldest, Sharon, Cedella, Ziggy, and Stephen, it meant forming Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers, a family band that carried reggae into a new generation. Touring globally, winning multiple Grammy Awards, and recording hits like Tomorrow People and Conscious Party, they became the living embodiment of Bob's vision of music as a uniting force. Others chose different paths. Rohan translated his father's entrepreneurial spirit into Marley Coffee and a lifestyle brand. Julian, Imani, and Damian pursued solo music careers, each carving out their own sound. Damian's Welcome to Jamrock became an anthem in its own right, while Julian's roots-based albums earned critical acclaim. Not all of Bob's children sought the stage. Robbie focused on art and poetry, Karen built a name in fashion and interior design, and Stephanie supported the family's charitable work. Makeda, despite early struggles, found her voice as a DJ and activist. Together, they've preserved and expanded the Marley empire, a blend of music, business, fashion, philanthropy, and sports. The Bob Marley Museum in Kingston, run in part by Sharon, has become a pilgrimage site for fans worldwide. The Marley Foundation funds schools, health initiatives, and youth programs across Jamaica and Africa. More than 4 decades after Bob's passing, his children, now parents and even grandparents themselves, continue to live in that balance between honoring the legend and defining their own lives. In their music, designs, businesses, and activism, you can still hear the echo of one love, adapted to their own rhythms. 4 decades after Bob Marley's passing, his legacy lives not just in the grooves of his records, but in the lives and work of his 13 children. Each one has taken a piece of their father's philosophy, unity, love, resilience, and woven it into their own story. Some carry his message directly through music, their voices blending familiar reggae rhythms with new influences. Others carry it through business ventures that reflect his entrepreneurial spirit, or through charitable work that embodies his commitment to uplifting the poor and marginalized. The Marley children are no longer just Bob's kids. They're a network of artists, leaders, parents, and innovators who have turned a family name into a global cultural force. From Grammy-winning albums to sustainable coffee farms, from stadium tours to grassroots charities, they've kept the flame burning while creating their own light. And yet, for all their accomplishments, one truth remains. Bob Marley's greatest song was perhaps not one he recorded, but the family he built and the values he instilled. His children, now parents and even grandparents, continue to pass those values down, shaping the Marley name for generations yet to come. So we leave you with this. In a world still in need of one love, which Marley child's journey speaks most to you? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the Marley family, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of music legends and the legacies they left behind. One love, one heart. Until next time.